If you thought cowboys were already chaotic, wait until you meet them with robot upgrades and zero chill. Far Far West basically throws subtlety out the window and replaces it with bigger guns, louder explosions, and enemies that just don't stop coming. One minute you're casually blasting your way through a wave, the next you're fighting for your life, juggling abilities, and wondering if your weapon is carrying you or completely betraying you. That's exactly why weapon choice in this game isn't just preference, it's survival. Some guns feel ridiculously overpowered, like you're breaking the game without even trying. Others, they'll get the job done, but only if you actually know what you're doing. And yeah, a few are just pure style points. So in this video, we're breaking down every weapon in Far Far West, ranking them from absolute must picks to maybe don't bring this into a serious run, so you can stop guessing and start causing chaos on purpose. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking weapons in Far Far West. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, revolver, boomerang, and sheriff star. If your weapon starts feeling like it's politely asking enemies to leave instead of forcing them to, you've probably wandered into C tier territory. This is where things still work, technically, but when the undead start piling up, technically is not exactly comforting. Let's start with the revolver. It is your classic, reliable early game sidearm, and honestly, it does its job just fine at first. Clean shots, decent rhythm, nothing to complain about. But the longer you play, the more it feels like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Now, if you lean into electric builds, things get interesting. The revolver can actually stun groups when paired with the right spell synergy, which gives it a second life. It is not amazing on its own, but in coordinated play, especially when you have snipers backing up aggressive shotgun players, it can still pull its weight. Then there is the boomerang, which is, well, stylish. You throw it, it comes back, and for a moment you feel clever. It is a unique ranged option, no doubt, and there is something satisfying about landing those returning hits. But let's be real, style does not kill waves. When enemies start flooding the screen, the boomerang struggles to keep up. It is fun to experiment with, but if survival is the goal, this is not the tool you want to rely on. Sheriff Star sits in a similar spot, but with a different flavor. It fires fast, it is quiet, and it is great for quick hits. You can dart around, land precise shots, and feel like a stealthy gunslinger for a while. The problem is damage. When things get serious, those fast hits start to feel like gentle taps. Against endless waves of undead, you need impact, not just speed, and the Sheriff Star simply cannot deliver enough stopping power to keep you safe. At the end of the day, these are the weapons you should be actively looking to replace. Unless you are testing builds or just messing around for fun, keeping them in your loadout is a risk. Both the boomerang and sheriff star look cool, and the revolver has its moments, especially with the right setup, but none of them are built for the chaos that Far Far West eventually throws at you. When the screen fills up and things get loud, you will want something that does more than just exist. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, leverage, horsebow, and dual revolvers. These are the weapons that make you feel like you finally got things under control, right before the game reminds you that control is temporary. B tier is that comfortable middle ground where everything works, nothing feels terrible, but you can already sense that tougher fights are going to start asking for more. Let's talk about the leverage first. This is your classic balanced rifle, steady damage, solid range, and it behaves exactly how you expect it to. No weird gimmicks, no surprises. You aim, you shoot, things fall over. It works in almost every situation, which is exactly why people like it. But that same reliability is also its ceiling. When enemies get tankier or bosses start soaking damage like it is nothing, the leverage begins to feel a bit too polite. Then you have the dual revolvers, and yes, doubling up on guns does feel as cool as it sounds. The big advantage here is the dual damage output, which makes picking off enemies much easier, especially when you are dealing with scattered targets. Combined with precise crosshair aiming and surprisingly solid hip firing, these feel smooth and responsive. The problem is that while they are great at cleaning up, they start struggling when enemies stop dropping quickly. Style is there, efficiency starts to slip later on. In general, B tier weapons are your reliable starters. They carry you comfortably through the early to mid game, and you will probably spend a decent amount of time with them. They are accurate, they feel good to use, and they are perfect while you are farming gold and building towards stronger upgrades. But once difficulty ramps up, you will notice the drop-off. They are not bad, they just are not built for the long haul. Now, the horsebow is where things get a bit more interesting. This is a primary weapon that really shines when you are on horseback. Mobility becomes your biggest advantage here, letting you kite enemies while constantly applying pressure. It is not about standing your ground, it is about staying one step ahead and slowly wearing enemies down. What really makes the horsebow stand out is how well it fits into elemental builds, especially that West Wizard style of constant elemental spam. You are not just shooting arrows, you are layering effects, controlling space, and playing a more tactical game. It is flexible, it is mobile, and in the right hands, it can feel incredibly smooth. Just do not expect it to brute force its way through late game chaos without some serious support. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, long ranger, quad cylinder, shotgun, and energite bottle. This is where things start to feel powerful in a way that actually holds up under pressure. A tier weapons are not just good, they are dependable when the game gets chaotic. You stop worrying about whether your weapon can keep up and start focusing on how efficiently you can delete everything on screen. Let's kick it off with the long ranger. This thing basically behaves like an automatic sniper, and yes, it is as satisfying as it sounds. You can sit at a safe distance and quickly pick off enemies before they even become a problem. It really shines when high priority targets show up, especially during boss fights with summons. Instead of getting overwhelmed, you are calmly thinning the herd from afar, while rapid fire keeps everything under control. Then we have the quad cylinder, and this one is just unfair in the best way. It blends rifle precision with shotgun aggression, giving you strong burst damage right in that sweet medium range. Once you start stacking fire rate upgrades, it turns into an absolute monster. It is beginner friendly because it is forgiving, but at the same time, it scales so well that it can melt bosses without much effort. If you grab it early from town vendors and build around it properly, elites will start disappearing faster than you can reload. Now, the shotgun. This is pure chaos in weapon form. Up close, it is devastating, and tight spaces basically become your playground. When enemies group up, you are not clearing waves, you are erasing them. Pair it with the right perks and suddenly you are looking at one-shot potential that feels borderline illegal. The downside is obvious though. You need to get close, and if you are playing solo, that can get risky real fast. But in co-op, the shotgun becomes a completely different beast. When someone else is drawing attention or controlling the crowd, you can dive in and deal ridiculous damage without constantly worrying about survival. This is where it starts feeling almost overpowered because the risk drops while the damage stays insane. It rewards aggressive play, but only if you can manage positioning. Let's not ignore the energite bottle either, because this is one of those utility tools that quietly carries runs. It creates an energy field that slows down or even blocks enemies in an area, giving you breathing room when things get out of hand. It is not flashy, but it is incredibly effective, especially when you need to control space or buy time during intense waves. What makes a tier stand out is how flexible everything feels. You have long-range control with the long ranger, mid-range destruction with the quad cylinder, close-range dominance with the shotgun, and battlefield control with the energite bottle. You are not locked into one playstyle, you can adapt based on the situation, and that is exactly why these weapons sit comfortably near the top. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, minigun and dynamite. If A tier made you feel powerful, S tier is where the game just hands you the keys to chaos and says, go ahead, break it. These are not just strong weapons, they completely change how you approach fights. Once you get your hands on them, everything else starts to feel like a warm-up. The minigun is the definition of overwhelming force. It fires non-stop, shreds through large groups, and turns crowded fights into target practice. With piercing shots, massive ammo capacity, and relentless fire rate, you basically become a stationary death machine. The trick is positioning. Find a safe spot. Canyon ridges are perfect for this. Lock in and let it rip. The downside is obvious, your mobility takes a hit, but honestly, when everything in front of you is getting deleted, you stop caring pretty quickly. Then there is dynamite, and sometimes simple really is best. No complicated mechanics, no setup, just pure explosive power. When enemies bunch up and things start getting out of control, you throw this in and instantly reset the situation. It is the most reliable way to deal immediate area of effect damage, especially when your squad is about to get overwhelmed by a horde. What makes S tier stand above everything else is how little compromise there is. The minigun dominates sustained fights, dynamite solves instant problems, and together they cover both extremes of combat. One keeps the pressure constant, the other bails you out when things go wrong. At that point, you are not just surviving far, far west, you are running the show. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.